karaoke for us?
We're good now. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Okay, first of all, roll call
Tracy Berkey,
here.
Sally Hurst Dickinson,
Here.
Julia Jones,
Here.
Melissa Muzzy,
Here.
Jessica Wheeler Russell,
Here.
Laura Vincent,
Here.
David Nesbitt,
He's not going to be here today.
thank you, Stacy Jarvis,
Here.
Lorna Carlisle,
Here.
Tom Liberty.
Here.
Thank you.
Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Lynch, will you lead us? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we have minutes from 5 meetings, the 2 annual meetings and the 3 school board meetings. Sally has corrected the grammar. Anybody, I would like a motion to move the minutes.
So moved.
Second? Seconded by Julia. Thank you. Anybody else have anything they'd like to change about the minutes?
I don't need to change anything, but are you looking to approve them all at one time?
Yes,
I just wasn't here at one of the meetings, so I would have to abstain from one, but approve them.
Did you read them?
Yes, I did.
Then you don't have to abstain. I got that from the School Boards Association.
Okay.
As long as you've read them and
did.
have nothing to change about them,
It's
you
fine.
don't need to abstain.
That's
I
fine.
mean, you can if you want. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything about the minutes? All those in favor of the minutes of the meetings, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Perfect. All right, public comment. Yep. This is on agenda items. First, the first public comment is always about agenda items. Yes, thank you. Anybody else? Public comment? Okay, then. Next is finance report.
All right, in your packet is the finance report. You will notice it looks a little bit different. I've reached out to some experienced BAs and asked them what their reports looked like, and they had some, I think, a better report to read. I think this will be a better overall report for us moving forward. So what you will see in the paper copy that's not in color, but if you had looked at the digital one, you can still see the gray stripe. Those are the function totals that are over. So instead of having a separate overage sheet, I just highlighted those function totals that were over by more than $2,500. As the same, that's the same as the other report, but I think this is again, a more readable report, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
I have a question about the format, not so much about the
Sure.
line items. I do like a simplified version, and I did talk to some accountants when I couldn't quite fully comprehend what was happening. So I think it might be really useful for folks maybe in the public who might want to try and read this, is to have like a little like index maybe at the back, like we highlight overages over blah, and like what each definition means, just so it's readable for folks who might not be in depth with this kind of stuff every day.
Sure. Thank you.
I do like this, though, and this is what people have been asking for, so
Yeah.
I'm glad to see it. Thank you so much for doing that. Can I have a motion?
Can I just ask a question?
Oh,
On
yeah.
The very last on page 6, where it says general fund, 1,219,000. What does that number represent?
So if today were June 30th and we had, well, let's say July 15th. We had received all the bills
Sure.
for June and paid them. That would be the fund balance.
That's great.
That just, but, keep in mind, we still have the bills for March, April, May, June.
Understood.
But and that's why I subtracted the carryover. That's the DOE 25. Those aren't audited numbers, but just to give us some sense, I didn't want it to say 2 million and,
Sure.
for us to be thinking, hey, look at that.
No.
There's, 2 million left. So that's what that's
No,
what that
thank
means.
you. And the format is really nice. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
And I assume that gen fund value at the bottom is an estimate and things might change. between
Yeah, they've
now
already
and then.
changed. In
Thank
fact,
you.
Kathleen was working on we're trying to have a better idea of, what that fund balance looks like, and has subtracted out March bills. So they haven't been paid, so they're not on here yet, but we're trying to get a little bit caught up, and we're hoping that we'll have a pretty decent number for you at the May meeting.
Great, thank you.
Can I have a motion for the finance report?
I move to accept the finance report. Is that what I say?
Yep, very nice. Thank you, Laura.
Second.
Jessica, second. Thank you. Any other questions about the finance report? All those in favor of the finance report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? I should always ask that, sorry. Okay, then. Next is good news, and there was a ton of good news in the digital packet, and Mr. Druin, it's all you now.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. First, before I start, in the packet, yes, there's quite a bit of good news. Boston's been pretty busy the last few weeks. We've had a music concert. We had chorus and band. Then we had the STEAM night, which Dr. Worm was present at doing this virtual reality. We also had quite a few, it was a pretty well-packed night. We had lots of different events. Parents really loved it. It was great. STEAM night has become one of our annual family events, which has been excellent to see. Lots of hands-on activities and then a lot of takeaways so that kids can take things home with them and continue to use them. So it's great. In the next month's packet, we'll also have second grade had Readers Theater, which was another great turnout event. So Miss Olson and Miss Peterson did a wonderful job with the students in second grade, preparing them for Readers Theater. It was great. Tonight, I have some second graders here and a few third graders. Oh, they're all third grade. Always confuse me because you're teaching second grade. Third graders and a fourth grader here to show a little bit about one of our co-curriculars that's been extremely popular over the last few years, robotics club and technology. A few years ago, we got new Lego kits. We had the original Lego kits. They were great and kind of got everybody excited. And then new ones came about 2-3 years ago now. And they're doing some amazing things. When I walk in there, I'm amazed and kind of, they always tell me, hey, it's so easy. You can just do this. And I'm like, sure, yeah, so easy for them. So without further ado, I want to turn it over to them. They're going to great presentation. And thank you all very much.
Okay, so I am Heidi Olson. I'm a second grade teacher, but I do the Lego club with third graders. And this year I have a co-leader, Jacob. He's in fourth grade and he was in our club last year. Some of you may have remembered that we came last year. He was in the club last year and he was so amazing that I asked him to help me lead it. And Noah King also helped me lead it, but he was not able to be here. Jacob is he's basically the leader of it. I just tell people, yes, you can go to the bathroom. That's pretty much my role at this point. Jacob is leading it. Thankfully, he's only in fourth grade, so he can lead it again next year. I'm wondering if maybe even when he's in sixth grade, he could just come back and keep doing it. I tell the kids, ask Jacob first. And then if he can't help you, I probably can't either, but I'll try. So this year I have 12 kits. And so I normally take about 15 kids, figuring some kids will double up. And this year we had 30 kids sign up. So I couldn't turn down 15 kids. So we broke it up into a couple of sessions. Jacob agreed to do extra sessions. And then I just picked a few kids. I didn't think you wanted all 30 of them. So I just picked a few kids that were really excited about it and really understood it. So I asked them to come along. What I like most about this co-curricular, though, is that this is a chance for lots of kids to shine. And you guys know that. And obviously you value co-curriculars. So thank you for that. So kids who maybe reading is hard, or maybe making good choices is hard, but in this club, like, you would never know that, you know, they're really getting a chance to shine. So that's been really fun. Jacob, do you want to add anything to this?
I think you covered it all.
I told you he's great, right? He does a really nice job leading. He understands how to help but not take over, and he's been excellent. So nobody wants to hear from me. They want to see the kids. So who's going first? And they're really excited that they're on YouTube too. And some of their teachers might be watching, like Miss Pellerin, right? Okay, Caden, come on up. And Jacob's going to show you guys. Jacob, want to go set the kits out so people can look at the kits too? All right, Caden, why don't you come right here? How about?
All right.
Here, well, yeah, you go right around.
Hi guys. So today I've brought a robot that can draw a perfect semicircle, and it took many tries to make, especially as you can see there's decimals on the codon. So I'd like to show you it. So you just press that there, and usually you have to do it twice for the semicircle to actually show. And then
This is something he came up with on his own. This was not a pre-programmed thing. He came up with this.
And I also had help with the structure and the codon by Jacob and Noah. And if you look, if you just take these off, right here, there's a perfect semicircle right there.
Cool.
If you guys want, you can pass it around.
Thank you, Caden.
I love it.
Oh, come on.
All right, next up is Leo and Liam. They also came up with theirs on their own too. So what happens is they like follow instructions, like how you see the regular Legos, and then you code them. But then at the last few sessions, I let them, you know, free do however they wanted to do it. So this is what some of them came up with.
So me and Liam have been making new robots every single day, and we were really excited when we heard about this, and we were really excited to join. So me and Liam were asking a lot to if we could make our own thing, and we got to on the last session. So we made this. It will, when it goes around, it will knock the robot off.
These guys also were counting down how many sleeps until technology club and driving their teachers crazy because they're like, it's 2 more sleeps. Go ahead.
At the end, it might sound a little bit annoying, but it's music. Music isn't supposed to be annoying. Is it? What? One. We saw it. Oh, shit, that one.
That's okay. That happens sometimes.
Wait for the end. Oh, yeah. And that's about it. Oh, yeah, we also made a head.
Good job. Somebody saw them. Who's next? Come on. You're up. Want me to carry this?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Lego down.
Did everything actually
Yeah, because I don't step on the computer.
So I made pinball and I added like a cute like few stuff, like I added a color thing and then I added cones to like make it like harder to build, and then I added like this little box, so if the when the balls fall down they just don't like go all over the place, and while it's going it will make like this thing light up, and this is how it works. Oh, I forgot to add the ball.
Here, why don't I hold it? Why don't I hold it? Or could you need two hands? Good job, you're doing good.
Yeah.
Something music.
I made a swing and I add a color to it and I added some sound.
I would be sick if I
Who
was on
wants
that
to go on
swing.
the ride?
Yeah.
You wanna try out the ride when she gets out?
Gonna work for Disney next.
Okay, you're gonna have to fight Everly. Nope. Nope, you're going last. Okay.
So I made a snowmobile and we did some races with it, different competitions. So I want to show you guys it.
Oh.
We did some different competitions with this one where they had to try to get it to start and stop on a line, and races, which I mean, technically they can only go the same speed. Even if they put it like 1,000, it can only go to a certain speed. They try. But the starting and stopping and making sure they're doing all the right coding. So. You got it? All right, and this is our last one.
I made a monorail and it's supposed to take people different places from back and forth.
Mess up your code. Do you need it to be started right there? You know, I should probably shouldn't touch it.
They'll be putting that at Disneyland.
Yes, that's it. Anything you want to add? Okay, do you guys have questions?
I do.
Yeah.
actually. I was wondering, I have a couple questions. The first one was, I was wondering how you guys code this. Is this something that you kind of drag and drop and snap together and type in numbers and stuff, or are you doing it some other way?
So
Jacob's the coder.
can I use yours as an example? Okay. So here on Cadence, can you all see? Okay. So like what you would do is so there's all these different tabs that you can use, like sound, light, movement, and that. And then when you take it, like events is where this when program starts, when you hit that. And you can drag all this motor stuff in. So like his went this way, and that way, and this way, and that way. And right here you can change it to like seconds, degrees, or rotations. And then you can change it to like, he has it set to 0.5.
Cool.
Yeah, and
Wow.
it's on top of the word blocks.
Oh yeah. And I
definitely think that the word blocks are much better than the icon blocks. That's probably because the word blocks were the only ones I used, so I understand them more. And I think they're easier to use because they have more options also.
The icon blocks are really for younger.
Yeah.
There's less options. What was your other question?
Yeah, just take this off. I was gonna ask, so, you folks had to work on teams, right? So, oh, go ahead.
Not most of us.
Now, most of us,
If
sometimes it
there
was
weren't
single.
enough- If there weren't enough people, we would usually just go solo. Like, if it wasn't an even amount, we would just go. Some of us it would be solo, but if there wasn't even amount, we would go like even. Like how me and them were together.
Ah,
Well, we could just do group of 3 people.
that's kind of cool. I was wondering if you guys could share with me what was your favorite challenge that you had to do? There we go.
Pass the mic around and go ahead and share.
So my favorite challenge was the one where we had to make it 2 to 1 with the perfect like number. Then I had to go back and it was like a race.
Cool.
Same like Kaden, it was pretty hard to like go to the line then stop and like turn around. So I agree because you have to program it to put it to one place and then you have to like spin it like really slow so you know it's going in the right direction.
I didn't do it.
My favorite challenge was me and Liam messed up and broke our thing multiple times, but every single time we broke it, we made it even better.
What was your favorite?
When things got stuck, we usually just replaced the parts. But if this don't work, we just replace it with the same thing we did. And if it gets stuck, like we showed right there, like a couple minutes ago, we usually just like rewind it or put the thing closer to the thing we're trying to knock down or whatever we're trying to do with it.
It took a lot of retrying.
Isn't music fun?
I think they like to record themselves too. That was a big hit. Did you want to say something? Yeah.
My favorite challenge was when like I was making a thing that it was like a swing or a Ferris wheel, and it was tricky because a lot of people didn't have the pouch I needed, so I had to go ask like almost everybody. And and it was like tricky because we had to use a lot of seats, so and I didn't have that many seats.
Did you have something else, or did you just want to hold the mic?
I'm still.
Okay.
My second favorite challenge was getting to Technology Club, aka Robotics Club, and programming the music. That's like my most favorite part. I didn't know about that until I saw Miles do it.
And you guys were programming. You were doing some of the programming at home a little bit, like getting ready for.
Like how
Yeah.
me and I didn't mean to do that. It was really hard programming the whole thing until we figured out how to actually program it, and then we became masters at it, aka pro. I got to that.
My second favorite challenge was when I was trying to make this thing right here. It took many tries. I tried to make it do a full circle, but we didn't really have a paper big enough for the full rotation. And I didn't know rotations was a thing at the moment.
All right. One more thing. You're done. Okay. Leo has one more thing. Last thing.
Me and Liam were trying to figure out if we could make the color center into a button, and we figured out, but then some people copied us and they figured out green was for, then they did green for go, red for stop, but me and Liam used our fingers for red.
Right, because there's color sensors on it as well. One of the other things they said too is they wish there was another plug. So they're already thinking about how Lego could make this better because there's only 2 plugs.
Much does it one kid cost?
Thank you guys very much. Great presentation. And thank you, parents and families, for coming tonight. Greatly appreciate the support.
It's gonna be hard to follow that up. I don't have any robotics. No, but all I can do is fish and sing, kind of.
So she's saying you didn't have enough kittens for everybody. Well, I was just thinking it's like.
Clear it all out.
Maybe to buy 55 kids, like get a couple more kids. Oh, is that such a different thing? Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Okay, so go ahead. Let's see you follow up with that.
Alrighty,
Nick's
try. Alrighty, so Pennacook Elementary School hosted a Super Mario Night. So over 220 participants attended the PES Escape the Game Night. So families engaged in riddles and critical thinking. This event brought some fun back into some education. The Concord Monitor had a nice article on it, so you can go find that online. SES and Webster, so Salisbury Webster Drama Club, had their performance of Peter Pan. I didn't know that they had a theater performance, so it's great to hear that the theater is kind of grown. I know I did a play in first grade. We did Bugs. So it's great to see some young talent. MVMS had over 30 team members show up for their Winnie Dip event. Unfortunately, the fire department canceled the dip portion of the event due to the ice blowing back toward the shore. Despite the lack of dipping, the event was still a success, and the team finished second in the state for fundraising, raising over $10,000 for Special Olympics. I know. And through their fundraising efforts, the team earned $3,365.10 to put toward MVMS Unified Sports. So that's great to see. 8th graders have embarked on their community project journey. Working in self-selected groups, students brainstormed ideas and consulted with their teachers to develop meaningful project topics. This initiative engaged students in sustained, in-depth inquiry, leading to education or service learning within the community. Mrs. Masterson will talk about their community project night in her report later. And the community project is essentially a mini senior project that kind of prepares the students for their next step in high school. The MVHS musical theater department had a great production of Into the Woods. It went very well. We broke the record for largest crowd at a single show in program history with a large attendance on the Friday night show. I saw most of you there, so thank you guys for coming.
You did great.
We hosted several other schools for a wonderful theater festival at the high school on the weekend of March 15th. The MVHS theater program performed Too Much Light Makes the Baby Go Blind, 15 plays in 30 minutes. Students Allison Lamontagne, Liam Erickson, and Abigail Curie were recognized for their acting performances, and Alexander Dudek was recognized for his leadership in tech direction. Our hard work paid off. We will be advancing to the state level theater festival, one of two of the schools that made it, which is scheduled for April 11th and 12th at Gilbert High School. So that'll be this weekend. We had 4 schools participate in the regional festival here. 2 went on, us and Plymouth. And then there'll be a total of 10 schools this weekend. The FBLA State Leadership Conference was a huge success. 12 of our students participated in a weekend conference. We are one of 30 New Hampshire chapters. After much hard work, our chapter earned the following awards. We won the Local Chapter Recruitment Award. We helped Exeter High School start their chapter. We were second place in the Defeat the Darkness, which is a state officer project. Third place in Hope for a Cure, which is another state officer project. The State Chairperson Award. We got Honor Chapter, which means we earned 80 points on chapter activity reports. We were second place Gold Seal Chapter, which is the top award given out by earning top points for chapter activity report. So in other words, we are the second best FBLA program in the state, which is really great to see. We also had a whole bunch of individual students earn awards. MVHS senior Kayla Smith was recognized as the Concord Monitor Girls Basketball Player of the Season. She entered her senior season with 617 points, and by the end, she had eclipsed the 1,000-point milestone. And spring sports are starting to get going. They are getting in the fields ready for play. These jokes were hard to find, but I found some jokes, so bear with me. What do you call a flower that runs on electricity? A power plant.
Oh my God.
This one's bad. This next one's really bad. Where do roses sleep at night? In a flower bed. Oh, see, pretty good. See, it's a pretty bad one, but there you go.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks very much. And yes, the Into the Woods was spectacular. It was wonderful. I enjoyed it very much, and we were there, and yeah, it was great.
It was a whole row of board members. I saw you guys out there.
It was fabulous. Thank you. Okay, no committee reports. Old business policies. You're up.
While we did not get to meet, there are policies in the packet for a second read, but we did agree to look at them again at our next meeting, so we will need to schedule something before I think we can approve them. Unless you had one in particular. Okay. Yeah, just because we didn't get to meet on the 19th, we'll need to reschedule that meeting. So before we put anything for a second or a final review, I think we should meet as a committee.
Sounds good. So I think we should probably set some meetings. So you want to start with policy?
Can we actually?
We can start with whatever you want.
Okay. So I was hoping that we could actually find a date to meet. I was hoping that the transportation committee could meet, and I wanted to start with this one because I'm hoping our transportation director can join us, and she has some limited availability. So I thought maybe we might start there. I thought it could give us a chance to review and familiarize the committee membership with the replacement cycle, some of the challenges and the highlights that we have. And at our last transportation meeting, we had also touched on the topic of a walk zone. And it's only April, but we really need to revisit that if that's something we're serious about considering for next year. So Noel is available on the 14th and the 21st.
Can you
Of April.
Yes,
can you
pardon me. of
can you
April.
tell us again who's on transpo?
Laura. I know.
And I have myself. written.
Lorna? Laura, Lorna. Stacy.
Melissa, Stacy,
Oh,
and
okay.
Dan.
Okay. Thank you.
And in terms of other committees that we may have some overlap with, I was hoping that we could also schedule, Sally and I have connected around curriculum and policy as well, so. So for transportation, how about the 14th at 5 o'clock? Is that, any objections to that?
Works for me.
Okay,
The transportation is gonna be the
so it would be next Monday at 5 o'clock
14th.
Yep.
For trans,
for transportation. Yep.
oh, okay, I thought you were talking about curriculum.
Well, but you are on transportation as well.
Yeah.
Is there any way we can make that 5:30? Just because it's a little tight for me to get here for 5.
So transportation, then curriculum?
Well, transportation
14th.
first. So it sounds like we're in agreement that we can do transportation next Monday at 5:30. And so as far as who is on curriculum, we have Sally, David, Laura, Stacy, and Dan again. So there is some overlap there. Is it possible to do curriculum that same evening at 6:30? So policy then, how about 5:30 on the 21st? Could that work?
That works for me.
And policy, Melissa, Julia, Sally, Jessica, and Stacy. Stacy, you're busy. So this is for policy, looking at the 21st at 5:30. Would that?
Could I possibly, could we do 6 o'clock just because I have a meeting at my other job until 5 o'clock and it's about 45 minutes here.
That's fine for me.
Okay, I can do that. Yeah.
Thank you guys. I appreciate your flexibility.
I won't make it.
Okay. Are you okay?
It is what it is.
If you have any input on the policies that we're looking at, please make sure you send it to myself and Catherine. Oh, actually, just send it to Catherine because I'm not actually chair yet. Sorry, made an assumption.
Mad with power.
Perfect. So that's good. Anything else about committees and the policies? We actually don't have any action required.
Not yet.
Okay, no problem. So new business, the first thing is a resignation. I received a resignation. Well,
Are we scheduling other committee meetings at this time, or would we do that later?
I don't think that we have any other committees that are going to be meeting in the month of April.
Okay, what about finance? When can we start that?
We probably won't start that until maybe this summer.
Could I recommend that we have a meeting in May to have a kind of an organizational meeting? Set some,
Sure. Thank you.
can we schedule it now?
No, I'd rather wait till we schedule it till May when we meet in May. Well, I guess we could schedule it now. I mean, I don't know.
I think it would be helpful to schedule it now just because of it being the end of the school year.
Okay. The only thing that I'm worried about is May has some different school activities. Can I find out what those school activities are first and what they're scheduled? Middle school and high school activities that would interfere, like awards nights and those kinds of things. And then we'll schedule it in May at our May meeting. Our May meeting is May 5th, so it's pretty early in the month.
That's what you're saying, right? Because we don't have a calendar of events.
I don't have the calendar of events.
So there's potentially things that would be happening in the school district.
Right,
That might
Yeah.
That's fine, but
okay,
can we definitely schedule it for,
in May.
in
I will,
May?
Tom. I'll take that.
all
Yep,
right, thank you.
thank you.
I support that.
Okay. Anybody else?
So the May 5th That's at 6:30?
Yes,
Regular meeting?
that's our regular meeting. Yes, thank you, Lorna.
Yeah.
And then SAU board is the 7th, May 7th. And that's in Andover. Nope, I lied. That's here. It was in Andover in December. So that is here, May 7th. At 5:30. Thank you, Randy. Yeah, the time is different.
We have senior projects.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
Senior projects are.
There'll be two, there's usually, we usually have two students who present senior projects that night.
But the presentation on the school is later in the month.
It will be,
That's
But April 24th.
24th.
Yeah,
it's actually this
that
month.
one's pretty early. Yeah.
Yeah.
The week, the Thursday before April 24th.
Have you thought about your senior project yet?
No, I'm working on my Eagle project right now, so I want to get that.
Okay.
I want to get that done first.
I don't blame you.
And that's at what time?
5:30.
The April 20, the school, the.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's usually at 5, right?
I don't know on the 24th.
Usually a couple of hours, right?
Yeah, it usually starts early though. Usually starts around 5, usually.
The high school calendar is
5, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kristen. Okay, anybody else? New business, in March, the 25th of March, I received a resignation letter from Dan York, and he has resigned as the, one of the Loudon representatives to the school board.
So we're going to post the following message. We'll put this up on the website, that there's an opening for an MVSD school board member from the town of Loudon. Interested registered voters from the town of Loudon should submit a letter of interest to Katie Keyser or drop off a letter at 105 Community Drive in Pennacook. Letters must be received by noon on Friday, April 25th. The MV School Board will interview interested applicants at the school board meeting on May 5th. And the selected person will be sworn in and begin as a board member at the June meeting. The position will run through February of 26. So that's what we're going to put up there. We do have, if we have multiple candidates, we do have some questions from a while back that we, some of you who were on the board remember that process. So we had Tracy sort of opens and closes that, and there's room, there's, Melissa has one question as vice chair, and there's 3 other questions. We do limit the amount of time to like 7 minutes, depending on the number of candidates that we have. So if there are some folks who would be interested in asking one of the questions, you can reach out to Tracy, and she can get that organized for the 5th.
So Randy, what would the process be? Say there were 3 people here, and would that interview be in public?
Yes,
And then what happened?
the interview and the vote would be in public.
Okay,
So, let's say it's, the 3 people right there in the front row, they'd be sequestered to the other room. We'll see if we can convince Nick to bring the person in. We'll ask them the same questions. So all 3, and then there can be some discussion, or there doesn't need to be. After all 3 have gone through, then each person's going to vote. So it'll be how many people would like BK, and we'll just count up the votes. And if there's a tie, I'll work something out as far as if there's a tie. So that 3rd candidate would drop out of the running, and then we'd have to revote with those 2 or something to that effect.
so everything that we do is in public.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? I think that with the exception of, well, doesn't matter. That's the process. So next is the authorization to hire. This is to allow the superintendent to hire and have contracts signed between board meetings so that candidates are not lost. We do that every year. And we'll get a list of what happened in between. I know that we've done it every year that I've been on the board. Yeah, it's something that we normally do. So I'm looking for a motion that would allow the superintendent to hire and have contracts signed between board meetings.
I'll make that motion.
Anybody second?
Second.
Julia will second it.
Oh.
That's all right. I was looking at Julia. That's why I said it.
And that goes through the September meeting.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it does. It goes all through the summer because, I mean, we want to make sure that we get the best candidates that we can. We don't want to lose them because we don't have another meeting for 3 weeks or something like
This is a
that.
wise practice.
Yeah.
This is a good practice.
Yeah.
Yep.
All those in favor of the authorization to hire, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okey dokey. Next would be the MOA for the Lakes Region Special Ed Consortium.
All right, so each of the next two things, both have the word consortium in them, which can lead to some confusion. I didn't name them, this is how they came together, but it is a representative of what it actually is. So I want to give you a little bit of background beyond just the MOU or the MOA that you have in your packet. This was born from some discussions over the last couple of years in the Lakes Region School Administrators Association, so the Lakes Region Superintendents. There are some congressionally directed spending, and we've been talking about what this could look like. One of the superintendents from the Lakes Region decided to put it together for the potential for some congressional funding. And I know that, federal funding is taking a hit, but we thought, why not throw this forward? So essentially we put in for $1.3 million on this, on Shaheen's, gets to choose some directed funding. So this was for pre-K to 8 special education. Now, if you ask me questions about the details, I'm not going to be able to tell you anything. So it's not that I don't want to answer questions, but this is really, let's try to figure out what will work and what the needs are. So the model isn't determined, a lot of those things. It's more a matter of, if we get this funding, it's going to be hiring an executive director, looking at models, how can we best serve the students of the schools in the Lakes region. So, some of the models that, we've talked about in the past, and Julie can certainly, chime in here. So, because I'm punching above my weight class when I start talking about some of the things about special ed, and she can talk about some of those models, but that's just to let you know, this is really just, an authorization to say, hey, yeah, we're into this. There's no financial commitment at all. There's actually no commitment. This is just saying, yes, we're into this. If we get the funding, great. That means we're going to get started next year. If we don't get the funding, then this is still going to happen, but it might be a couple of years out. I'm going to let Julie talk about a couple of models. She's been at those meetings with me, and let her kind of talk about FAPE and about placement of kids and what that could look like moving forward.
Can I ask just a clarifying question real quick before we do this? So these are two separate agreements, right? So
These are two very separate agreements.
So I just want to
Yes.
make that clear for everybody. We have what Julie is going to speak to, which is the second one, and then the first one.
Yep. So this one is K-8. Currently, that's how the grant was written. Not that we don't have the same need for high school, but the particular grant is for a K-8 program.
All right, so the visual that's coming around is what we call education placements. So those placements, the language on that piece of paper is what is written into the rules of IDEA. And so districts are tasked with having a continuum of placements for our special ed students. So at the top of that, you'll see what we consider least restrictive, and that would be a regular education class with supports and services. So that's our goal for all students. But that continuum, as you move down all of those potential placements, the goal is to always move through those with as much caution as a team feels is needed in each individual student's case, and only move that way as necessary. So we wouldn't be at the top of that chart in a regular ed class and want to jump all the way down to home instruction. We want to take each step along the way and try different interventions and supports as we progress through that. And then the reverse of that is that we also want to move back up that continuum as quickly as possible, but without causing any, undue or unnecessary stress or situations for students. So given that, I think it's important to note that we are quite often tasked with finding placements for students and finding ourselves on wait lists. Sometimes we're on wait lists for 7-8 months and then go through the intake process to not have the student be given a spot in the program. So that is very different than when I started in the field, 30 years ago. That was not the case, but it is now. Wait lists, and as you know, as has been mentioned in the past, we are transporting students, to lengthy distances because of the placements being so far away. And so I did want to take the opportunity to just sort of clear up. I mentioned this at the annual meeting, and I feel like it may have been implied that I thought this was a good idea, and that perhaps it was something that would be used to remove students that are currently in our programs in district and take them out and put them in their own program. And that is not what was intended at all. This would be actually, in my mind, for Merrimack Valley, would be more of a step in the other direction. Perhaps we have students who are in day placements that are further away from home. And if we had something in the Lakes region, they would be closer to their home school. And as they begin to develop the skills necessary and are ready to return back to the district, they would be closer by so that they could participate in co-curriculars and those kinds of things. So a couple of benefits, I think, certainly transportation may be a savings here. In addition to that, I looked at some of our placements, and I kind of made up some examples, given some numbers. So student A, for example, $104 for a tuition to a day program, transportation, $65,000, and then paraprofessional support for that student, $48,000. So that's one student. So taking a look at those costs and then looking at the possibility of having a program like this where we could pool resources with other districts, we could have the potential, again, this is all, we haven't really had this detailed discussion yet, but I would imagine that we would find ourselves saving, for example, a related service provider who only comes to the district for a small number of students. We're paying that mileage, travel time. If these students were pooled with children from other districts, that may be a potential savings. But again, this is all, these decisions are never made for families, they're made with families, and they're never taken lightly. So again, I wanted to make sure it was clear that I don't think a program like this is a good idea for taking students who are already successful here. This would be more of a step down, coming closer to home. I think that might be it. I think another important piece, IDEA, the laws that we operate under, require us to really take a look at post-secondary goals. So preparing students for the future, what might that look like for students? And so that is another potential area where if students were grouped together, that may be a possible resource for us. And again, I think it's important to know that along the way, all of these decisions that would be made with families are always going to be considering FAPE, that free, appropriate public education, and making sure that we are following that continuum and providing what every student needs to be successful. Are there questions for me?
So if we vote to explore this tonight, would we then vote again after the study is done to move forward with any financial obligations?
Yes, and I
Okay.
think the model is still, even if the grant funding were to come through, the model isn't going to be in place for at least another full year. So the first step, at least if the grant came through as is, really the first step is to hire an executive director to then look and present to the committee. And the committee is made up of directors of student services and superintendents in the Lakes region. So this is really just kind of giving the thumbs up that, hey, we like this idea and we're in it to move forward. There wouldn't be any, there's no commitment outside of that. So I'd really just be looking for board permission to sign on the dotted line and have Tracy sign on the board's behalf that we think this is an idea that's worth pursuing.
Okay, and then one last thing, after this study is done, would the findings be presented to the board as well so that we could know about this?
Yeah, so we'd start, and I think, and fingers crossed that this funding comes through. There hasn't been much getting funded from the federal government. So, I'm trying not to get too excited about the possibility, but I think even without the funding, we're going to try to find ways. It's just going to take longer. And this would allow us to kind of hit the ground running. But the meetings that Julie and I will be attending, we can give reports after each one of those meetings. So you'll know kind of right where we are as we're going through it. So there wouldn't be like a year from now, I'm dropping this, we're dropping this big, huge, hey, here's the consortium and this is what they're doing. So we can give you those incremental reports if this does work out.
You might not have the answer, just something to be thinking about, because we do have students from Andover that attend our middle and high school that may have special ed needs. Would the Andover students that would be attending that grade level, if this was something that they were interested in, have access to it? Because they're not really listed on the
So
document.
this is pre-K to 8. The Andover board will have to do the same thing that
Okay,
you're
got it.
doing
Okay.
so that they can jump
In
in.
my head, I was doing
So,
K through 12, sorry.
yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
And there's a lot of districts that might be interested of this, like,
Yeah.
there's a list of districts.
Yeah, so there was an initial sign-in, so I did sign on the district's behalf just to get us in the mix for the congressional, the grant funding possibility, and then figure we'd bring it here and get hopefully get the thumbs up to, stay on the list and move forward as we progress.
This does go into place, we'll have some grand rules from how the districts work together and share things.
Yes, and the way that the grant is written, that it actually says schools and not school. So there may be, because the Lakes region is fairly, we're talking, to, Governor Wentworth, which is in Wolfboro, down to Pembroke, on the south end of things. So, there's still a wide range. So, the Learning Center here at Merrimack Valley has been mentioned as one of those programs that could grow and be part of this consortium moving forward. So, but again, I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Yeah, I just want to kind of read a couple of these pieces here, just so folks kind of related to what the questions that Stacey was asking, so folks in the audience can hear it. Under roles and responsibilities, there is a line here that says present the proposal for consideration by the local school board, which would give us, I believe, the final say on what goes down. Right. And then the last one that I wanted to say is that this is a non-binding document reflected in the intent to collaborate. So there's no legal obligations created at this stage. So this really is what I'm kind of thinking of as like a research project that we're all collaborating on in district. So around here, I'm going to ask a technical question. because there are two separate agreements here, and we're discussing the this one, the MOA, and then there's the other one, which is the high school consortium. Is that what it's called? Lakes Region High School Consortium Agreement. We would have to enter that first before we entered this one, right?
No, they're
Totally
totally
Well,
separate.
okay, so they're not even related.
Not
at
even
all.
connected.
Okay. So I did ask a number of questions, and I think most of them were already answered. But I would like to know how often would these folks meet together? Is this quarterly, monthly? Depends on what funding we get, or
Right,
there's no
yeah, I
solid
think
answer.
so
That's
far
no
we've
solid
met
answer.
3 times, and, it started out with a small group, and then we
Mhm.
brought in the student service directors, and then kind of continued on. So we've met over the last 2 months, probably 3 times, but I imagine, if we were to get the grant, then this would be at least a monthly meeting, if not more, because then we'd be doing a search for an executive director and some of those things that would be part of the grant. And then I think as the executive director were in place, as we look ahead, there's a lot of different possibilities and models, and it would be a lot of data gathering. So there'd be a lot of behind the scenes work for, the student services folks to, even listing out, what are our student needs, and, and all the variety of categories, and then look for that overlap as we pull that data. So I think the number of meetings, I think there'll be, I would guess 1 in-person meeting a month with a number of Zoom meetings, in those early stages.
And I assume that our point people would be yourself and Julie. Anybody else, or is it?
Catherine may be
Catherine?
jumping in there.
Mhm.
And, like I said, we've been in from, the early discussions, at least for me, for a couple of years ago, is when we started throwing around some of these ideas. And then it just really kind of sped up when we saw that maybe we could grab some cash to get this taken care of. So.
And I promise the last question, Sally. Is there a deadline for when we have to enter this agreement before we would either potentially lose funding or no? Okay.
No, and I don't know how the speed of the grant process works for this. No, I wouldn't even hazard a guess. So.
Sally first and then Laura. I'm curious as to whether or not there currently exist models that have succeeded in this. I, want to be, I guess, forthright in my apprehension, particularly when we talk about separate schools. I feel like, that brings us back decades in terms of how we've gone about integrating students into our educational communities. And so my initial response is great apprehension. I am curious to know if other locales have done this successfully.
Yeah. So, and you can answer her question if I don't do it justice, or you can jump in, because I think we're about to say the same thing. So why don't you go ahead?
Yes, so I think there are 2. The only one I can think of right now is on the Seacoast. And the Seacoast Learning Collaborative, I believe that they have multiple programs, and we do access some of their programming for day programs for our students. And I too struggle because I don't want to go back in time. I definitely understand that viewpoint. And that's why I'm trying to think of it as more of a step closer to coming back to our district. So for students who may be an hour away or an hour and 10 minutes away, if this were to be a program that could meet their needs and they were 20 minutes from home, it would potentially increase their access to what we have here at Merrimack Valley during the day.
So these are kids that are already in
Right.
out of district placements,
Yes.
other places. So it would just be, hopefully, instead of sending them to, you know, as
Rye
Julie
or
said, yeah,
sports
to
space.
Rye, we have, you know, if someone's going to Rye, maybe they go to Pembroke, or maybe they're in, you know, Pennacook.
Follow-up question? In terms of, I mean, I guess, you know, we need to actually have the study first. I'm just, I guess I'm a little skeptical about the possibility of cost savings given, you know, well, so the money would be for, the congressional money would be to do the research, to found the consortium and to figure things out. But there wouldn't be funding in place to actually fund the.
In year
school.
2, there is some money in the grant for, you know, sort of that next phase. And so the way that, do you know about Seacoast and how there's the learning collaborative?
I do not
Okay,
know.
I'll speak about this deep, if that's okay. Let's say that there are 10 districts who are interested in this, and you can buy in for 3 seats for $200,000. All right, I'm making up all of those numbers, but that's kind of how the model works. So for us to have 3 out-of-district placements at 200,000, we're saving more than 100 grand, no matter which one of the, you know, scenarios we grab for out-of-district placements. If you know, look at transportation, things like that. So that's how some of those models work. So you don't, no one district is going to have all of their needs met, but it's 3, 4, 5, depending on how many districts are in and how big the program is. Most of the programs are capped at 12. So, but you could have multiple programs all in the same building. So like at the Learning Center, we have multiple programs of 12 in that building. So it'd be the same for this consortium, potentially, if they went with that same Seacoast type model.
Okay, so I know nothing's set in stone, but you're looking at maybe, there may be more than one site where the programs are taking place. Like one might be in Mortonville and one might be closer to us.
Yeah, so they're,
Kind of thing.
yeah, so that's why they put schools and not just school in the actual grant, even though I think in here it might just say school, but in the request for funding, they put schools with the idea that, you know, if they came up with a model, if they had a couple of locations, that would probably benefit more schools in the region.
I think it's great that the districts would be working together, and that maybe children with pretty specialized needs might, and that might be able to be in the same program as children, as similar children with special similar needs.
Yeah.
While still being, you know, obviously the less restrictive environment we'd always go for, but
Yeah.
that could happen easier with more students, with a larger student population.
I would actually, does somebody else have anything to say before I speak again? No? Okay.
Wait.
Oh.
It's okay, I'll wait.
Okay. I think I too view this very positively as an opportunity to collaborate, especially when cost savings are involved, especially if it's moving our students closer to home. I would like to make a motion, and now obviously we can keep discussing after it, assuming I get a second. I would like to make a motion that we sit on this until May, and I'll explain my reasoning if I get a second on that motion.
I'll second that motion.
And like I just said, I really like this idea. I think this is great at first glance, but I want to give us and folks time to digest this a little bit, because we're talking about entering into agreements with other school districts. And I feel like giving the board a little bit more time to think of more questions or take what we had tonight and process it for, you know, a month, since there's no timeline, that it might be beneficial for us to just, you know, not jump in right now and then maybe join in May.
If I may,
Mhm,
um, because it's a non-binding agreement,
mhm.
you could also view it the other way, where you sign on, and then if you have reservations or something comes up in May, just vote to leave the consortium so that we can be on. Um, Just another way of
Yeah,
looking at the
I
same thing.
understand.
I think that it's a little difficult. And the reason that I support that is, going to, salaries, reservations, and just having that processing time, but also the opportunity for families. So anybody watching tonight with students who receive special services, I'd like them to have the opportunity to either email in to the board and to administration, and also have the opportunity to come and speak in public, to give their thoughts on it before I voted. I'd appreciate that. Um, are we still taking questions, or?
No, you can still go until we vote.
Okay. So I just want to make sure, Julie, I heard right. So if we had a student at one of the schools that was receiving services from a contracted service provider, which is costly, we're not gonna send the kid to a different school if they will stay in our district, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I
Yes,
just wanted to make
yes,
sure
this
that.
would, yes. Thank you for asking that,
Yeah.
because I feel like I can't say enough. I know that there are families who will be listening to this, and I think some people felt that the message I delivered at the annual meeting was that I was in favor of a separate school to get,
Sure.
to remove students from Merrimack Valley. And I can't emphasize enough that we will continue to make decisions and support families through the process. And it would be, again, for Merrimack Valley, it would be more to bring students
Okay.
a step closer
Okay.
back.
Thank you.
Tom, did you have a follow-up?
No, they asked a lot
Okay.
of the questions I had. Yeah.
Laura, do you have a
I
follow-up?
think
Yeah.
whenever we vote on tonight, I think it's important that Catherine and Randy and Julie be able to continue to work with these people and talk with them so that we don't cut off them working with them.
Would tabling it until May prevent you from speaking with?
I doubt anyone's going to throw us out of the group if they haven't by now.
Anybody else? So we have a motion on the floor to put this decision off until May. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Lorna? Thank you. Any abstentions? Okay. Thank you. So the motion passes and we will make a decision in May. And the high school consortium.
All right, again, just because they have consortium in the name, get the other one out of your head now.
New brain.
So this one is for high schools, and you'll notice a list on here of some schools. This doesn't mean that we're already in. These were the schools that said that they might have an interest in this, and this agreement was written up with the help of legal counsel, and it's at a bit of a timely document as well, because if you wanted to read through HB2 and some of the things that are in there, if you're having trouble sleeping, I recommend that document. But one of the things that's in there is open enrollment, and this is sort of a way to look at it on a smaller scale for high schools in the region. So I'll give you the sort of big view of it, and then we can kick things around. And again, this is an agreement that even if you say, we like the idea, we sign on, it may not happen. It's not that it's not going to be happening, but it just may not work out as far as the students from here accessing other places. So this basically opens up to, let's take those 13 schools that are on the list. So a student that's attending Merrimack Valley, at least 51% of the time, can access courses in any of these schools that are on here. Now, some of them probably physically don't make a whole lot of sense. Like Moultonborough offers a Latin class, and they have plenty of room in that Latin class. We probably won't have kids going to Moultonborough to take Latin, but you know what, maybe it's a senior, maybe they want that, and who knows, the schedule works out and things like that. However, I'll give you a more concrete example. For kids in the second year of CRTC, currently, they may come here for block 1, then they have 40 minutes off because it's not quite enough to get in that second block, get on a bus, go down to CRTC. Concord's on this list. They could go from here, get on the first CRTC bus, and go down and take an English class that's in part of the block schedule in Concord. They've now done a full credit of English, let's say, first semester. Maybe second semester, they need a math credit still. They take that math class first. They're still an MV student. CRTC counts as, MV time. So they're still ours, but they've now managed to maximize their day by being able to access some classes down in Concord. So that's sort of just a couple of overall examples of how this could work. Same thing for us, kids coming here. If we have room in a class and they want to take, STEM in movies, it's a class that, a lot of kids want to go, or they want to take ASL and we happen to have some room. That would be an opportunity for someone in the area to then access our catalog of classes to be able to come here. So really it's that collaboration among the schools in the Lakes region. And none of this has any cost tied to it, right? But you can have your own rules as far as, look, we cap this class at 15, or this is a lab class and we cap it at this number, or, this one is not going to be open. So it's not like, nope, there's a seat, so they have to have it. So we still have control over that sharing, and transportation is entirely up to the kids. So we don't have to provide transportation K-12 anyway. But that would be on, kids and parents. But as it is now, we have kids going to NHTI or driving, to, some of the, local schools in that way, Winnisquam. So.
Are we doing anything like this outside of the book tech of the?
No, other than CRTC, Winnisquam, and classes at NHTI, we don't have this with any other public schools. This is the first time a solid agreement has been put in place. And again, it could be, you all love the idea, thumbs up, because what happens after this, I'll give you some of that too before after this, if we sign on, you give me permission to sign and I sign us into this, then the principals at the schools and possibly the guidance directors will kind of collaborate, look at their schedules, because that's the other thing. We all have different schedules. The Concord example happened to be a good one because of the way that CRTC runs. It's block 2. So for me, if I'm a kid doing CRTC, I'm going to grab that other class in Concord because I now am taking care of 2 credits, stay for CRTC, and then I'm still back at MV for afternoon and sports and whatever else that might look like. But some of the other schools, it just may not work out. If they're on block schedule, we have 7 periods, or they start at 45 minutes later. So, but the principals and guidance folks will get, and the counseling folks rather, will get together and look at some of that scheduling and what might possibly work. So, it's a first attempt at, trying to collaborate, and really it's for kids, right? It's to open things up for kids to have access to some other things that maybe we don't have, or maybe we offer some things that other folks might be interested in.
Sally?
So this is very similar to the question I asked earlier in terms of models. Are there other, school districts that have collaborated in this way? And I guess one of the things I'm curious about is, if so, over time, did any of those schools experience under enrollments as a result of students exporting themselves to other schools, and did that have an effect on faculty?
So as far as I know, not to this scale. However, this was born of an agreement between Moltenboro and Interlakes. They've been doing this for years, just the two schools. And so we looked at, and again, this is another thing that as the Lakes region group has been talking about for a couple of years, like what could this look like? And we took that model, and Michael Tercey from Shaker is the one that's sort of spearheading this. And he's the one that sat down with legal counsel and worked this out. And they based it on the agreement that Moltenboro and Interlakes had, and they've had success. Some of their numbers are quite low anyway. So, they're running that Latin class with 3 kids right now. So, they're, and in Shaker, I know they have some AP classes with 4 or 5 kids. So, I don't think that, I also don't think we're going to see kids leaving their own school to take a class that's offered there necessarily, except, like maybe the example that I gave, maybe it's English, but that's out of convenience. So you're not losing a block. But they didn't talk about any classes that were like, oh, now we don't have enough to, have a class because they went to the other school. Because this is viewed more of a collaboration than a competition. It's not like, oh, you have a good robotics program and we're going to steal your kids for that. It didn't, that's not the feeling or the intent of this it's not really to be any sort of competition in that way.
Sorry, my hand's not up.
Speak.
Nick?
Hi, real quick. So I love the idea. I think it's great because personally, we have a few classes. Like last year, next year I was gonna take like a journalism 2, but we don't have the numbers for it, right? So like if that was something Concord offered, I could go do that, which would be great. Which I don't know exactly when this is starting, but maybe after my time. But anyway, so if Merrimack Valley has a class, does it not? Can you like go to Concord if they have that class? Is it not just like, say we don't offer one, then you can go somewhere else? Is it like?
No, it would be open. So it's not looking at the differences between the program of studies and you can only take things that we don't offer. It'd be more of a convenience, kind of like that CRTC example that I gave.
Yeah.
I think for me, that's the most concrete example that like this works because their CRTC for second year students starts what is our block 3 because of the way they have their 90-minute blocks. So we might have English 12 or, American literature might be the class that you end up taking. But even though we offer it here, you could still take it elsewhere. It just opens up the program of studies, but then the logistics part is the tricky part. Like, is it going to make sense for you to go to Prospect Mountain High School? Probably not. But it's out there, so we don't know individuals' circumstances.
Would this affect average daily membership at all?
No, that's one of the things I believe they address it.
I think I read it somewhere.
Can you clarify what that means, average daily membership?
Yeah, so it's part of our adequacy, how we receive. So the more students that come to school to Merrimack Valley, the larger number that goes into a formula that gives us our adequacy.
Yeah, I believe, and I'll double check on that, but the home district maintains all that. So because it would get too crazy with one class. You're 1/7 and your block schedule. So
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Just a quick question. First of all, I love the out of the box thinking, so I appreciate that. I see this maybe 2 ways, and correct me if I'm wrong. I could see it as, say Merrimack Valley had 10 kids that wanted to take AP Calc and Franklin, which I think maybe, Franklin had 2, and they couldn't run that course, potentially those two kids could trek on down to Merrimack Valley, providing they had the, a similar schedule.
Yep.
That would be one potential way. Would it also be, let's say that we offered say an elective, I don't know, Shakespeare, somebody, and some kids like, oh, wow, this would be great. Would that be also another reason that they could come, that their homeschool doesn't offer? something?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah, both of those I think are very solid points about this.
okay.
Jess, and then Laura.
So first question is, how would this affect our Andover students? Would I assume they'd be able to utilize it because they
Yeah,
tuned
well,
into us?
Yeah, if the MV board votes
Mhm.
for this, they will be presenting this to the Andover folks at that May meeting to let them know that their students will now have this opportunity as well.
And according to this agreement, it would start July 1st of this year, correct? So the students
Correct.
could be utilizing it next
Yep.
year. Assuming everyone irons out all their logistical concerns, because that's a lot of schools with different schedules to put together.
Right.
How would we be presenting this to our families? Just would they have to kind of like research it themselves, or would there be like a catalog or offerings? Or I just wanted to understand how we would communicate to families that this is an option.
I think we would have a page in the student handbook, and we'd have links to the different schools.
Mhm.
But again, just because you see Shakespeare, so we have
Yeah.
somebody that's down in Concord and they want to come here, it may not still work out. So that would be like a first step. Like, this is a possibility. Reach out to your counselor,
Mhm.
for more information, because. But I think it's one of those things that we could have one kid take advantage of this,
Mhm.
or we could have 10 kids. We could be taking in, half a dozen, or, so I think it's really some of those logistical things, but I don't think we should get bogged down in,
Mhm.
yeah, but think of all those schedules and how is it ever going to work? Well, I give you one very concrete example.
Mhm.
Even if one kid takes advantage of that down in Concord, that's great for that one kid who now has essentially another full credit out of their senior year, because they're getting a full credit first semester, full credit second semester. So I think even if it helps one kid, I think it's worth putting out there. And again, so when you look at some of these places, it doesn't make sense that Kingswood
Yeah.
is going to have something for any of our kids, but it's still
Maybe
the
one
Lakes
student's
region
willing to
and
drive,
we're the
who
group.
knows?
So,
And then I think I suppose as a follow-up, oh my gosh, I lost my thought here. I asked about the timeline. I asked about Andover. A few other questions have been asked about that. Yeah,
So Laura's
Laura has his hand up. I lost it, Laura. So if I remember, I'll come back to it.
Okay, so are the students gonna have to spend 51% of their time in their sending district?
yeah, their home district, yes.
Okay.
Sally?
Right. Right, this question might be a little bit in the weeds, but I'm wondering, do we have enough guidance counselors at the high school to manage the workload? This seems like it could be an awful lot of work for relatively few people.
Well, I think and that's why the principals are going to get together. There may be some that the schedules just are not compatible, just, flat out. So I think there'll be some things in place, and I think we can probably have a flow chart, of sorts to manage that. But we can let Becky come to the mic if you'd like her to dig into that a little bit.
In terms of managing the schedule changes, I think, thinking quickly about this, we've already started to build our master schedule for next school year. So we'll have, before the end of the school year, we'll have a total number of open seats in our courses. So that would be easy for us to pull. We do that anyways. We do have our school counselors at the high school have summer dates that they come in for new registrations built in. So I'm guessing, I don't know what's the land, but if this were to happen, I don't know how large of a number it would be at first, to be honest with you. I'm thinking about early college, how that started, or even VLAX when that first was introduced. It usually is a slow roll, but I feel confident Ask me in August if this happens, but right now, I'd say
Thanks, Beth. Thanks.
Julia?
So far away. I'd like to make a motion to move forward with this. Like, say yes. Like, I make a motion to say yes.
I would second that.
Moved by Julia, seconded by Melissa to say yes.
Yes.
Long Monday.
Can I just ask one more question? Randy, you
course.
talked about legal looking at this. Are we safe of liability, kids? I mean, they're going to be driving their own vehicles, and that's just where I worry. I worry about the safety of our students.
Yeah, and it falls under the same thing, like we have kids driving to Winnisquam right now,
Yeah.
and they get reimbursed. These kids won't be getting reimbursed and to NHTI, so it falls under that same
Okay. And
category.
parents still have say and so forth. And
Exactly.
okay.
Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Jess?
I did remember my question. So I know it says under item G that special education related services, so the sole responsibility of the sending resident school, all that fun stuff. So obviously the resident school, students' home school is going to be responsible for all the costs and things like that. If they need, say, in classroom aid, I assume that they would be coming from that home district instead of the receiving district, correct? Okay. And then I suppose I'll just say that I took the weekend to review the other school districts who are in this agreement, and I watched some of their board meetings and I listened to what they had to say, and it's generally very positive, and I agree. I think this is a really good idea to pool resources, especially as we have seen some programming removed from our own school, and some schools are in similar situations. It allows our students more access to things that are great. I would also prefer to sit on this until May. So just to give time to really think about it and have like Randy answer some of the questions you couldn't answer tonight, like about adequacy and things like that. But that's obviously the rest of my peers here to kind of like weigh in on if they would be okay with waiting until May or.
We have a motion on the
I know,
floor.
I'm
Yeah, vote on
asking,
first.
okay, then I would like to offer a friendly amendment that we wait on this until May to give time for our community to talk about it, for us to think it over, and to have at least the adequacy questions answered.
So if before you decide whether you're going to take that on the other one, as I said, it didn't really matter. This one, because of getting the principals together and looking at all the schedules and the logistics that you pointed out, I think waiting does add a bit of a time crunch to the end of the year. Most of the other schools on here are trying to hit the end of March or very beginning of April so that those discussions could happen. It's totally up to you as a board, but just from my perspective, having those extra couple weeks and April break thrown in there for principals and counselors to kind of pull together on that, I think having that extra time would be beneficial.
Dr. Romer, I have one more question. So are we trying to kind of aim to make it so that students kind of might have the option to sign up for classes out of the schools by the end of this year? Or are you leaning more towards like the beginning of next year when we first kind of get into school? That's when we can sign up for some of these other classes that some of the other schools offer.
It would depend when the principals can work things out and look at schedules. Again, a bunch of these aren't going to be feasible just because of location. But, so as, Mr. York, digs in with some of the other principals, if they were to get that done before the end of the year and some of the schools and, maybe you want to take that journalism 2 class, then, that would be a possibility. If it goes through the summer, you'd have to wait till the end of the beginning of the year and wait for that, email home to then maybe dig into some of those things.
So I'm assuming that schedules have already been developed or kids have registered for all their classes, right?
Mhm.
So this would be changing their classes at this point based on more opportunity.
Till September.
Yeah, exactly. Are you kidding? Till October.
At least the first 2 weeks.
So we have a motion on the floor to vote yes on, I forget what the title is. Hold please. High School, Lakes Region High School Consortium Agreement. So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, so we will sign on to that.
Look forward to hearing more about it at our next meeting.
Me too, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what you're taking next year, Nick.
I'm actually really excited about this. It sounds like a great way to get more opportunities to our students. I think most of the student body is really going to enjoy this. So thank you guys.
So the next is the manifest and journal entries. Melissa and I signed them electronically, and you all read them. Can I have a motion, please?
I read them. I don't know why you have to look at me. I make a motion that we accept the manifest and journal entries.
A second? Okay. Second on Sally. Any questions? All those in favor of the manifest and journal entries say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. Okay. Assistant Superintendent's report.
Sorry. So Nick stole some of my thunder, but we collaborated before we got going so that we didn't, not too much overlap here. So it's an exciting time in our elementary schools. Our kindergarten teams are going to start hosting their parent information nights, and we are setting, our screening dates have been set, and we're beginning to schedule those students to come into our buildings and meet those families. So that's always exciting. We're seeing the new faces that we're going to be welcoming. And then at the same time, our fifth graders are preparing for and participating in exhibition. So exhibition is a culminating learning experience. Students are challenged to work collaboratively on a project that has community impact. It requires research, interviews with people that are work in the fields related to their particular area of passion that they're researching. Some schools kind of leave it wide open for the kids to investigate particular areas of interest to them. Other schools have it more focused around a general topic that they're all working on. And then there is a public presentation that happens to their peers and families as well at the end. So it's an opportunity for our fifth graders to really showcase the skills and learning they've gained throughout the duration of their elementary experience. Many of these nights are taking place in our schools this month. Pennacook's has already happened, and Boscawen's is going to be coming out next month. So that's certainly an exciting thing. One of our Webster exhibition teams was highlighted in a press release from the Bureau of Adult Aging Services. So I'm just going to pass that around so that you can see that. So exhibition is just a fantastic way for students to demonstrate their learning, an alternative to a more standardized assessment. Similarly, we have our eighth graders, and Nick spoke to this, beginning to prepare for their community project night. So at the end of each of our levels of education, we have one of these culminating experiences where students are demonstrating their learning. And so that's going to be happening on May 28th. And they will be showcasing new learning or service learning that reflects an area of interest personal to them. On the 24th is the senior project night, and I think many of us are familiar with that, and I hope you'll have the opportunity to attend that night. And our students will be demonstrating the application of their hard work and their learning experiences there in those very practical ways. So
Is that April or May?
that's April. That's April. What did I say? April 24th at 5 o'clock.
Is that a Thursday, right?
Kristen. So those are some really powerful events that happen in each of our buildings, and certainly would encourage you to join those if possible. And the final thing I just wanted to add is that I'm very excited. We're going to be conducting our business administrator interviews this week. Jessica Wheeler-Russell is going to be representing the Merrimack Valley School Board on that committee. And we have administrative membership, Kathleen Boucher, myself, and then we have Andover board and administrative membership as well. So we are excited about finding the right candidate for our district, or SAU, I should say.
Can I
Districts.
elaborate a little bit on one of your topics? Is that
Sure.
okay?
Yeah.
I obviously I'm a parent in Pennacook, and my eldest son just participated in the exhibition, and I just wanted to say how hearing it, from a high level is great, but actually being there and watching some of these students who I've known since they were 5 years old, all the skills that they've gained over the years in the school, all of the hard work they've put in and their teachers have put in was, it was really great. And I think that often, we focus a lot on test scores and things like that, understandably so, but these exhibitions are a way for students to really show the skills that they've gained in a more real world application. And they've grown so much, and I just really enjoyed it. So shout out to Miss Ellis for her class. It was great.
Randy?
All right. So I'm going to keep mine short and sweet, but I was able to finally break out of the office. And as you heard Mr. Druin say, they had the STEAM night for BES, and I get to be VR guy, and kids line up for the entire night. And it was great because Mr. Druin had to be the bad guy and shut it down at 7 o'clock. I told him I'd stay, guys, I'll stay. But, Mr. Druin is turning the lights off. So, so that's always a fun time, getting the kids, especially the kids that have never experienced it before, and they'll put that on and just play a game of Fruit Ninja, but they're in this, virtual world. And I have to, bob and weave a little bit as they start, waving their hands to slice the fruit. But there's a lot of great things. So right next to me in the library was the robotics team from here at the high school, kind of getting that next group of excited engineers to be part of that. And, they were just doing some really neat things over there. Like they were having the robot throw a ball and the kids were trying to catch it. So it was great that, I got to be in that same location with them. And then the PES escape room that Nick talked about, I did get to go to and saw some folks that are in this room at that night as well. And the amount of work that went into that, I know that it was a fun night for folks, but the amount of work that went in by the Title I folks over there. And, I don't want to start listing names because I know I'd forget someone, but it was a tremendous amount of work and they just went above and beyond to make that just a great experience for all of the kids and families. So one of the best things about it, one of the reasons that I enjoy just walking around, is seeing parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, whoever working with the kid. Sometimes you didn't know who was more excited about getting a little parachute and going up the ladder to drop it off and see if they got the parachute working. So, I love seeing these sort of nights, and it brings in a whole bunch of people from the community, which is really the reason for these events are for community engagement. And I think it, both the numbers and the smile on people's faces as they were going around definitely proves that these sort of things are working. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Public comment? Three.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, my name is Devin Roderick. I'm a resident from Pennacook. Can you please confirm what the district policy is on the cost threshold for going through an RFP process? For example, the track was discussed at the annual meeting. Under what is it? I think someone said 50,000, but I don't know if that's true or not. I'm asking what the threshold is.
So this is public comment. So you can ask a question and we can get back to you, but public comment is not a time for a back and forth discussion.
Okay. I think it would go a long way in helping to foster trust and transparency throughout the district if the RFP policy was adhered to based on my understanding at the annual meeting. For my next question, and I guess you're not going to answer me, but when does the administrative collective bargaining agreement for the district superintendents come up for renewal? When that time comes, I ask that the elected school board members consider making the wage increases within those positions performance-based. For example, if student test scores rise to predetermined higher levels and the district budget is not overspent by the end of the fiscal year, then those district-wide upper management level positions would get their raises. I believe this would be a reasonable step toward balancing the budget on an annual basis and reaching our educational goals. I do appreciate and look forward to any responses you have from the things I just asked. Thank you.
Did you sign in? Did
No.
we have a sign in?
Yes.
Did you sign in? Because would you make sure that
I'll make sure I do, yes.
your email is on there? And we can get
Yep.
back to you with the questions, the answers. Thank you.
Would you like me to stand?
Yes, I would, Pat.
Hi, Pat Pike from Pennacook. This is a question I know just for something you to think about. If this project goes through at the high school, will there be complaints that children who don't have cars can't access this new opportunity to attend another school for a class? Or is the district going to wind up getting maneuvered into having to provide transportation to 6, 8, 10, 12, 20, 30 kids if this is really successful? So that's
Thank you for that question.
my question.
Yes, Pat Pike.
Louise Andrus, Salisbury. Last month, March, I asked for a copy of the Washington Street School study that took place. I was advised that Fred would have to get a copy for me. Then I was advised that there was no report. Rather, it was a spreadsheet with figures on it. 2 years ago, in April of 2023, there was a big discussion, I think at the annual meeting and at other meetings, about the Washington Street School. The discussion was we going to sell the school? What was it going to cost to bring it up to code, et cetera, et cetera. I have not received a copy of the figures at whatever the engineering outfit came up with, because I was advised until it was presented to the school board, which I was advised is going to be in May, I couldn't get a copy of these figures. What the problem is, it has been 2 years. The school board voted to spend up to $30,000 for this special report on the Washington Street School. And yet I was also advised this report included the whole school district. There are many questions which I hope next month, whenever this is brought up, that somebody can answer for us. One, was there a contract? Yes or no? If there was no contract, this district has got to start considering having contracts on different things they do, because one of these days, with no contract, we will get sued and we will be liable because we have nothing we can prove. That's number one. Number two, we really need to know what we're going to do with Washington Street School, because I understood from 2 years ago, we had to decide whether it was going to be brought up to code. So my question is, in the last 2 years, have we been spending money to bring it up to code, or what's going on? I think this school is very important that we get all the facts and that the school board presents them to the taxpayers of the school district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jesse Schmidt, Pennacook.
So I just have a couple things. One is a suggestion just as we move forward through the year, and specifically this will end up going to next year's large meeting with all the voting and everything. It's just a large suggestion that as the year goes on, that you guys seriously consider drawing out the line items a little bit more for future consideration. Having more information, again, this kind of goes back to transparency conversations. Having more information as the taxpayers and everything else gives us a lot more ability to give an informed vote. The line items don't say a whole lot, even amongst the board members when you guys were considering it and you did the special meeting to consider before moving forward with the vote. There were a lot of questions about like, what does this include? What is this? What is that? So that to me suggests that not even the board members are getting the detailed list. So it's a strong consideration. I know there's certain things that obviously you're not going to disclose, like this teacher's paid this person's paid this, so on and so forth. But that's a right to privacy versus a right to information. And I think that that's very important moving forward. So it's just a consideration to the board and a reminder that you as board members have the power to actually make those motions and do that. You're the superintendent's boss, not the other way around. The other thing I'd like to say is in terms of for filling Dan York's position, just a suggestion, since we're not having a back and forth, I guess a suggestion, not a question, that you consider having some form of public comment after all three, or however many people apply for it. After they do that, that you allow for public comment for the public to actually weigh in on a position that is normally voted on by the public. I understand that in this kind of situation, it's a appointed position, but just something to get more of the public comment, get more of the towns involved. Well, I guess town, because it'd be louder. Lastly, on that note of public comment not being a back and forth, other school boards do that. And I would, especially given all the commentary we've had about transparency and integrity, I would really highly suggest to the board members that somebody motions this, whether in this meeting now or in a future meeting, to actually vote on that. You're representatives of your townspeople, you're representatives of the taxpayers. And what was the resounding message at that last big meeting? We want transparency. We want an ability to communicate. We want a back and forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Public comment? Next is non-public. We are going into non-public under RSA 91-A:3II for teacher nominations. We will be taking action when we return to public session.
Can I ask a question, Tracy?
Sure.
Yeah, in the past meeting, we talked about future board potential agenda items. Will we talk about that when we get back from non-public, or would
We can.
want back from non-public?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we getting a break?
Yes, take a 5-minute break for